Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good whatever day it is for you. Welcome back. I told you I was going to be doing more lives. Here we are. I'm a couple minutes late. I think I said 7:10, but here we are at this one here. I want to welcome you, want to say hi, want to say thanks. I'm trying something new here. I'm going to go ahead and tackle, excuse the pun, some football picks, NFL predictions. I'm going to have fun with it. We're going to talk about week 2. Hey Melanie, how are you, Mama O up there in New Hampshire? Boy, you guys are just filing in. How about stock market predictions? Yes, get your money out now. And don't ever invest in anything Donald Trump tells you to. That's my financial advice. Good night. Mwah. Or punt. I like that. Got to work the magic 8-ball a little bit too up here behind me. So many things. So I want to do something a little bit fun. And, we are going to do some cards here. This isn't a shuffle up and heel. It is for the NFL. We're going to go through all 16 games. I'm going to have fun with it. I'm going to have a little bit of commentary to it. So if you run a fantasy football league, I happen to know a few things about that. I am a previous champion, just to let you know. Second of all, and by the way, it was a little suspect when I was in a fantasy football league and I traded away a guy that got injured the following week. That's when everybody said no trades with Brandon, just to let you know. And if you guys dropped out of the league. So anyways, yes, I've stolen a chair. How do you like that? And yes, that is the handbook for the recently deceased over my shoulder right here. The new Beetlejuice is coming out. I hope you follow along. That's going to be a lot of fun. But so I'm, like I said, I'm just going to have fun with this. I'm just going to pull out, cards. I'm going to basically do 2 different piles for each one of the games. And we're going to talk about it. Now, the astrology of what's coming up this weekend is really kind of an interesting one. I'm going to pull up the astrology on my phone here. And I didn't prepare a slide for it, but I think you guys understand why I might not do that. This is for entertainment purposes only. And, oh, shoot, son of a gun. I have to pull this up right now. This is just going to take me a little bit. A lot of these things actually have, whenever these NFL guys or these postulators, by the way, everything right now on my screen that I pulled up for my search page is talking about stock market predictions. So, yeah, thank you, AI. Right? So, yeah, everybody's kind of like whatever. So I just want to, and this has kind of been like a prolific thing all of a sudden that people need to worry about, like animals. People need to worry about animals being eaten. And I think it's a really important thing. I know a lot of people that have been lifelong gamblers, and it ends up being a problem for them in more ways than one. And instead of talking about you wasting your money on things like gambling sites and what have you, how about if you actually go to the ASPCA and adopt? The average person spends on gambling that's an avid gambler. Just guess. Almost $1,200 a year. And for less than half of that, plus food, plus whatever, you can adopt an animal. You can adopt a cat, you can adopt a dog. Are there some hidden expenses in that? I mean, I guess. But no worse than, you not being able to pay your mortgage or any of that other good stuff that we sometimes sit there and go like, "Oh, I think that's all kind of fine. I think that's, oh, that's cool. I got a little money on the game." And it's this really kind of immature, dare I say, kind of alpha, dingleberry stuff that people end up doing or saying or, spending money on. So I'm gonna encourage you guys that instead of, clicking on my sponsor and getting an additional $50 towards your gambling debt, to offset your gambling debt, take that money and go buy pet supplies. Go adopt an animal. Go adopt a cat or a dog. Go um, go enrich your life instead of making somebody else's life rich. It's a thing, guys. It's a thing in this work, right? Um, so I am going to actually do this right here. And this is sponsored by and awareness driven by the ASPCA. And I know that every single organization has ups and downs and challenges and whatever. But if you want to adopt an animal, this is a great way to do it. It's a great way to get started. You do not have to go to puppy mills. You do not have to go to, the mall, pet store, any of that stuff. I had a friend of mine that worked in an animal pet store during their high school years, and she said it was the most horrific thing she'd ever seen. That has always stayed with me, and it will forever stay with me. I am going to switch over to this right here. I know I just froze there, guys. It's weird. It's like my hard line doesn't work as much as my Wi-Fi does. There's a lot going on with that. And of course, you can catch out my tour. I'm all over the Capital District in upstate New York. I'm going to be in Hudson. I'm going to be at the Park Theater. Those of you that know where that is, it's a nice little venue, and they have redone it, refurbished it. I'm going to be out at the Glove in Gloversville. I am going to be out at the Oneida Arts Center actually a week from Saturday. I have an online message circle tomorrow. So if you're looking for messages, go to my website, go check it out, go rock and roll that. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and dive into the production. So like my logo, I'm probably going to get yelled at that. Somebody is probably going to send me a message and say, yeah, that's not cool. Yeah, Brandon, that's not okay. We don't really like any of that. We don't really like it when you use our kind of logo and you're kind of rolling with it. And again, this is in sponsor with the ASPCA.org, Adopt a Pet. Don't waste your money on gambling. Adopt a pet. You will be so much better for it. You do not need skin in the game aside from being a fan. It's this addiction quality that we have in this life, in this country. That is actually one of the challenges that we have, that we always need to have skin in the game. Have the skin in the game to help a pet. Fair enough. And I know I've only got about a dozen of you on here because most of you are just like, Brandon, really? NFL? Tell me it's going to be okay. I will tell you it's going to be okay. Get a cute little bugger. Look at his eyes. Anyways, all right, guys. You guys ready to dive in? All right, let's talk about the Bills and the Dolphins at first. So one of the challenges that I think we have with the Bills and the Dolphins right here is going to be, I'm going to do one of these, and then I'm going to switch one of those. Oh, for the love of Pete. This isn't doing, what good is that going to do? How about one of these? Oh, no, that's not what I want. Do I want one? Oh. I don't like any of this. Hold on. Bear with me. What if I do this? What if I do this? Oh, that's a solo layout. Now, what if I add it in? If I add it to this, son of a. This is one of the things they're like, oh, yeah, sure, you can do anything. The only problem is, oh, I think I know what I can do. Hold on 1 second. Hi, everybody. No, I don't want that. I'll go square. Sorry, I'm working it all out here. I'm going to go with this here. Then look at this. It's like I know what I'm doing. Look at this. Come on, B. Come on. Come on. Yeah. And then if I go like this, eh? Oh, I kind of like this, everybody. I kind of like this. By the way, one of my good friends is a big Bills fan. Got another friend of mine that's a big Dolphins fan. I actually really like the Dolphins this year. I think the Bills are going to show. I think the Bills are going to kind of do the Jim Kelly thing this year. They're going to be really good until they can't be anymore. And what does that have to do with? I don't know. Well, on one side of it, by the way, if you're a fantasy football player, you just grab anybody you can on the Dolphins right now. Tyreek Hill, Jaden Waddell, David Chain. Mostert is down this week, but you're going to kind of grab him. And Tua, Tua is one of those players that he's going to throw for 350 yards, which is where those two receivers are going to get the bulk of it. And then the run game is just going to be these draw sweeps, that sort of thing, and they're going to be super busy the entire day, right? Well, the challenge is that it's all gimmicky. It's kind of like at the beginning of the third quarter, with 8 minutes to go in the third quarter, that's a great game plan. When there's in the fourth quarter, you kind of sort of know what they're going to do. And nobody can, like, you kind of figure them out pretty quick. The Dolphins probably should have lost last week. They didn't. The Bills should have lost last week, and they didn't, right? And then you have, the Bills, which are, very quarterback centric, very quarterback centric. Um, everything that they have done, their defense is fair. Um, roster. Um, and the more that you look at them, the more that you are like, okay, well, these are a bunch of surprise players. Now, as a fantasy team, grab any one of their receivers, one of them are going to rise to the top. That's, unfortunately, kind of how it's going to roll. But as you draw forward, the backfield, with James Cook, he's going to do okay. But their kicker, Tyler Bass, you want to grab him because they're going to stall out. They're going to stall a ton. And of course, the defensive back in Hamlin that has, he's come back from his heart attack. DeMar Hamlin, number 3, I think that's fantastic. And let's get to Josh Allen, rather. I mean, the guy is a magician. The guy rocks and rolls better than anybody. And guess what? He has one of those classic, like he's just gonna go down in the history of football as one of the best players at that position. Greatest of all time, blah, 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 any of that stuff. Like let's save that for another time. And of cards here. We're going to give 3 to each team. We're going to give 3 to the Bills, 3 to the Dolphins, and we're going to have a response as to how they're going to defense in this one, right? So the offensive is going to be the traditional tarot card. The defensive is going to be the Snoopy deck. And by the way, I love how you guys are talking about the Snoopy deck. So congratulations, Bills. Here we go. Oh, 10 of Pentacles. This is an interesting card right here because I've got to be honest with you. I don't know. I don't know that this is the most talented team that they've had. But then we have the Ace of Cups here. And by the way, I did shuffle these. I dropped them on the floor. Truth be told. And then you got the Wheel of Fortune. So, is this kind of talking about the Bills and their destiny? I don't know. I don't know. But how are the Dolphins going to respond to this? All right, so we got the moon. So they've got something up their sleeve here. And they've got the Queen of Spades. All right. Okay. So they're not going to get hyped up in all of this. And then you've got the Page of Wands. This is interesting. I would expect the Dolphins, based on this, I would expect the Bills to kind of come out, try and be themselves and be like, hey, you know what? We're here where we are. And by the way, this is down in Miami. This is a Thursday night game. Tyler Bass better come with his foot. He better be ready to go. And the dialogue between the two of this here, the defense is going to be kind of nighttime is the right time for him. Queen of Spades coming in is very much about, like, we're not go we don't Josh who? Like, they know who the centerpiece needs to be. They know who they need to really kind of focus in on. And they may come in the Wheel of Fortune, the Page of Wands. This may be the discovery or the exposure of Josh Allen. Sorry, Bills fans. I know you don't like that. But hold on a second. Hey, Dolphins, let's take a look here. Another Team of Destiny card in all of this. Page of Pentacles. So it's early in the season, right? So early in the season makes you kind of go, what am I really doing here? Like, what's our team identity? Is this, you can't do the same thing over and over again. You've got to I mean, every single coach that you talk to always talks about their halftime adjustments, right? So in that halftime adjustments, this is about recreating this and kind of being like you may think, I think this right here represents, I think they're going to end up running like mad. And I'm going to tell you why. So the Ace of Wands, I think this is kind of Tua. And then you have Jaden Waddell, Tariq Hill. You got the two Magic Makers here. And then you have the Page of Pentacles. I would take a look deeper in their roster. If you're a fantasy player and you want to find somebody that's a little bit more developed or unsung, this might be a great time for you to dive into somebody new with this. Then you've got Justice. It's almost like there's some redemption story going on here for these guys. Ace of Pentacles. Wow. So one of the two of them are really going to pull themselves out here. And then we have the Knight of Cups along with the Page of Pentacles. Wow. I think you're going to have a new fantasy player come out of this with the on the Dolphin side of the ball. And again, I don't want to get too much into prediction here, but I think I think the Dolphins win. I think they win it at home. And the home is really the advantage type of thing. And I think they win it in some sort of combination like 27-24, 24-21, something like that. It's not going to be a super high scoring game, but it'll be quick points. So it'll be the type of thing they go into the half 7-3, and then they come out and they score the rest of the points in the third quarter, third into the fourth. So here we go, guys. How do you like this? Look for a new fantasy player to come out of the Dolphin side of the ball. Huh. We having fun yet? I don't know. We having fun yet? Let's talk about Saints and the Cowboys. By the way, I love this team. I love this game for a couple of reasons. The traditionalist of me loves the silver and gold helmets. New Orleans in their traditional gold and black, and then the Cowboys in their silver and blue. I mean, the Cowboys just don't seem to be able to get it right. Let's be honest. They just, they contract negotiate too late. But the Cowboys are home. You always give a 3-point swing to that. But the Saints have been like, you know what? We're not half bad. You guys can't discount us. Thank you, Knight of Cups. The Hierophant, which means that you're kind of getting back to some basics. Oh, and here I am with two decks in this already. Got the Ten of Pentacles. Is this the Saints coming into Dallas, into Allegiant Stadium and upsetting them? Kind of looks like that. Let's see what the Cowboys have to answer with this. Ace of Wands. So they're going to use a lot of blitz packages. They're going to try and dictate what's going on. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, the Hierophant. And then the Three of Swords, the Three of Spades here. I think they're going to know what they're doing, but they can't stop them. And then you get the Page of Cups. So you've got the Page of Cups is going to be like this. Hey, we've got to come up with some new stuff here. The Cowboys might learn a little this weekend. They might learn not to underrate the Saints. Let's be honest, right? The Saints have two great receivers in all of them, or Shaheed rather. The two of them are really there. And Alvin Kamara doesn't look like a 30-year-old back right now. The dude's got his entire piercings and crap going on. And David Carr is a good quarterback. I'm sorry, guys. I know that the Raiders are kind of like, you can keep him, but they won a lot of games because of Carr. I think the defense matches some things, but I think the defense actually recognizes that they have to do something different. I'm going to give the edge definitely here to the Saints. So the Saints going away right now look pretty strong. Cowboys, oh, always chasing the dragon, aren't you, Cowboys? 8 of cups here. 8 of cups. What are you missing out? Oh, America's team. Everybody loves them. And the moon. So here's the moon making a couple of appearances here in the first 2 games. This to me is kind of like we're missing something, but we're just going to kind of try and be ourselves. And then the moon. Wow, this is a nice turn. This is a nice turn. And then you have the 10 of swords here, a 10 of spades. This is interesting because what I think this is talking about really kind of the martyrdom that the Dallas Cowboys have kind of sort of gotten used to. I think that's kind of a very real conversation for Cowboys fans right now. King and Cups along with this, that to me is a turnover situation. And I think that this is kind of the Saints turning it over to the Cowboys a couple of times. So let's take a look at the turnover differential in this one. And then let's look at the 7 of Cups. So there's going to be a lot of options. Yeah. So I'm going to tell you, this tells me that this is going to be like them responding to some of their deception. Look for some wildcat plays. Maybe Zeke actually ends up being quarterback for a play or two. Look for that kind of like spinning the wheels. Now you got Taysom Hill on the other side of the ball. He's a tight end / quarterback, which is a weird positioning, but don't be surprised whenever you see like kind of this option thing. This could also be Dak running up some mileage here. I mean, go figure. I mean, the guy's got it together. By the way, I have Derek Carr. I just picked up Derek Carr, so I'm a little partial there. I ended up dropping, and we'll talk about him in the Falcons game. That's actually the last game of the week. Um, in being able to kind of like let it go. Oh yeah, the Niners are coming. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. They're playing my Vikings. So sorry, Lady Ann. We need a friendly wager. But you know what? I gotta tell you, I think this is going to come down to turnover differential. And I think the Saints are going to turn it over twice. And I think Cowboys are going to turn it over once, which is going to be the differential. And I think the Cowboys this is going to be one of those that are going to be like 38-35. This is a great fantasy football game to pick up whoever might be out there. You also got Ferguson, the tight end on the Cowboys. I think he's a worthy pickup because I think CeeDee Lamb is just a beast. So just as a decoy plays, you're going to have that. They really don't have a clear number 2. They've got a couple of other wide receivers that are just trying to figure out their definition. Could that be what we see here? I don't know. It's kind of fun, but I'll tell you what. We're going to talk about the ASPCA here for a second. Instead of spending your money on gambling, go ahead and adopt a pet. Go ahead and pick up a little kitty cat. I hear they're being eaten all over the Midwest right now. So you want to save them. Think about what you're doing. You're saving them from being eaten by immigrants. That was a load of shit, wasn't it, everybody? But adopting a pet reduces stress. It brings you a sense of well-being. You are helping the world by treating a living human creature as an equal. And if you've ever loved an animal, then you know what that means, right? So go ahead and do that. Instead of me saying, hey, I'll match $50 on your drafting and blah, 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 gambling kings, I'd rather have you adopt an animal than spend $800 a year on gambling money that you don't have or could be better spent on adopting an animal. Thank you so much. All right, so on to the next game, the Buccaneers and the Lions. Boy, nice edit job there, Brandon. So the Bucs won their game last week because Baker Mayfield threw 4 touchdowns. Very interesting matchup here. This is going to be another one of those games where if you have somebody in your back pocket on one of these 2 rosters, you're going to want to play him because the Buccaneer defense is great up front, but their secondary is a little shoddy, which is why they gave up so many points, which is why Baker Mayfield had to throw it around so much. And the Lions traditionally they're a bend don't break kind of team, which is sometimes the best. So they're going to give up on an 80-yard drive, they're going to give up 75 yards every single time, and they're going to give up the field goal. So their point total might be a little bit down in what they give up, or they come up with a big play a little bit later on. This is a fun matchup. This is definitely two playoff teams. So if you're going to spend your time watching a game this weekend, Sunday at 1, if you can get it, jump into it, right? Um I'm glad you find that humorous. All right, here we go. We're going to be talking about the Buccaneers right now. So the Buccaneers are afraid of losing. They're afraid of they don't take chances. They're traditionally a very conservative franchise, right? They don't throw it out there. Now Mike Evans is a class act all the way. He actually suffers from a form of ADHD that keeps him from he was wetting his bed into his teens, and he actually talked quite a bit about this. And he fits this role because the team doesn't put him in situations where he can't be successful. They would rather throw it over his head than under and have him get clobbered. This is a key thing. This, I think, kind of typifies that. And then you have some celebration. I think they really like what they have. You also have Chris Godwin, which is catching up a beast. Now, they're missing their tight end position, really. They've got Kate Otten, but he's a good D. He's a great blocker. He's a good football player. Fantasy player, I don't know. I dropped him already. But you've got them celebrating. So this tells me that they're going to work with a triumvirate. The running back is off the charts. So that's what this is. And then there's just kind of a Queen of Swords. This tells me that actually they're so robotic that they might not even enjoy the win, the Buccaneers, when they play well. So let's see what we talk about. Oh, yeah. So the Lions, which have really become a savvy team here in the last couple of years, are going to highlight on their lack of creativity. So they're going to kind of know that what they're doing and how they do it. They're going to use strength versus strength. There's a lot of blitz packages, guys. With the 3 of Cups here about the celebration, this is a counteract for them. I think they're going to kind of know what they do as they do it. And then the Fool card, I got to tell you, I think the Lions just won it in the spread. I really do. Because the Fool card is kind of like we're going to show you something new. You're going to stay traditional. We're going to use blitz packages, and we're going to kind of get up in your craw here a little bit differently. I'm really interested to see what the Lions offense will do. I got to tell you, I got to give a check mark to the Lions right here. And let's see where the Lions are going. Oh, the lovable losers, never been to a Super Bowl, right? So that's in their part. They're got to make a decision. They got to be able to kind of go out there into the world and make it different. And the Hangman, look for them to. And by the way, I'm a big fan of Goff as a quarterback. I think that they figured out a lot of Amon St. Brown is just. I mean, he's if you have him, I have him in one of my leagues, and I was picking fifth, and I had my choice between the triumvirate of Justin Jefferson. I'm a Vikings fan, full disclosure. Jamar Chase, and then Amon St. Brown. And I wanted a piece of this offense, and I wanted it at the top of it. And listen, Justin Jefferson was the best person on the board right there, but I went with Amon St. Brown because, the Viking quarterback situations. This to me is going to be like some running plays by the wide receiver and some catch pass plays from the running backs. So look for them to be really prolific out of the backfield, a lot of swing stuff, a lot of screens, not a lot of stuff downfield, and they're celebrated for being the lovable losers. Why not? They've been embracing to that, right? And then the Wheel of Fortune, kapow. So they feel, here's the Buccaneers coming in going, we're going to celebrate how much you guys have sucked over the years. So they're both going to play and the prolific nature of being who they are. In the case of the Buccaneers, the Lions are going to come in and say, you guys are too conservative. We're going to remind you how conservative you are. In this case, they're going to come in. The Buccaneers are going to come in and say to the Lions, what have you guys actually won? Great debate technique, if I might say so myself. And then you have the decision, how are we gonna do this? And then the Wheel of Fortune kinda comes in like, you're gonna make the wrong mistake. Then in the end, we're gonna say the hangman, and then the star comes in. Oh my gosh, this is the Buccaneers basically saying, "We're coming into your house and we're gonna upset you." Now that being said, you talk about the 12th man out in Seattle. The 12th man in Detroit right now is becoming a thing. Is this gonna be enough to overcome the challenges that they have? I gotta pick the Buccaneers here. I want the Lions to win. I'm a Vikings fan. They're in the same division as the Vikings, but I'm okay with giving it up one more year as we develop and repair JJ McCarthy and all that other good stuff, because that's just what we're good at. We're good at that as a Vikings fan. We're good at like waiting one more year. Next year's our next year. Next year's our year. I gotta give it to the Buccaneers here. And I think on paper, again, if I'm a gambling man, and I'm not, instead I like to draft kittens and puppies. Draft kittens and puppies instead of drafting football teams. This is a world of make believe, guys. Right? It might be scripted, it might not be. It's fun fodder, it's entertainment purposes only. But let's be real. Let's be real for a second. Who gives a shit if the Buccaneers or the Lions win? Everybody's going to care if you adopt an animal. All 12 of you heard that one. Hey, Susan, how are you? All right, so we're going to edge that out to the Buccaneers. Sorry, Lions fans. Oh, this is kind of a throwback game to me. So you've had the devastating news that Jordan Love is going to be out for about a month, give or take. Strained MCL down there in the Brazilian turf that everybody complained about coming into it. I mean, they just know it, and they're like, well, you hope for the best. Sometimes it doesn't happen. Well, let me tell you something. The Colts lost that game, but they lost it by a nose. Texans came back. So the Colts, though, have an identity. Anthony Richardson, I don't know if they're a playoff team yet, but boy, are they exciting to watch. They're going to be one of those teams where you're going to be like, what did Anthony Richardson do today? By the way, in one of my leagues that I'm like, right? In one of the leagues where I'm like, yeah, I kind of want to win this one. By the way, the most that I ever spend on any of this stuff is like $40. I'm $70 in one league, $40 in another, and like 5 in another. Somebody makes $50 at the end of the year. It's kind of fun. But that's not the reason why we're doing it. We're doing it so that then we can, be guys, hang out and pick teams and bust balls. That's real. If a good fantasy, somebody has a healthy relationship with fantasy, those are the goals, right? Oh, you're taking the Packers. All right, Susan, go ahead and lock in who it is that you think, because we're going to roll out the Colts right now. And how we're doing, the Colts are going to come out quick. So look for them to get a quick start. The magician, is this Anthony Richardson having the game that everybody's been waiting to see from him? Maybe. And then practically perfect in every way. A lot of yellow here. This is comeback kid territory. How are they going to answer it? 2 of wands. I think the Packers are going to be falling over themselves. 6 of cups. So this is new for them. They haven't really seen this yet. Even though they played the Eagles last week and Jalen Hurts, Jalen wasn't really foot and fancy there. I mean, they did some things. They had to rely on Saquon Barkley. They ran it down their throat, right? So what are the Packers going to deal with this week? Who are they going to deal with this week? They're going to deal with Jonathan Taylor running it down their throat. So they're going to get out to a quick start. This magician thing, is it Anthony Richardson? Is it Jonathan Taylor? I'm leaning towards Anthony. Oh, winner, chicken dinner. Both of them are in the 9 of Pentacles here, practically perfect in every way. Thank you, Sally. That's kind of fun. And how about her with the what's that? How much do you love this deck of cards? How great is that? She's got Woodstock right there in her hand. Looking back, I love this. I love this. Of course, they got the Pentacle stuff wrong, but whatever. We're not gonna blame Schultze for that one. I'm gonna edge the Colts here, but this tells me that the Packers are gonna bring it. The Packers are gonna really meet them on defense. and they're gonna come up with new ways in order to do it. But I think the Colts' goal is gonna be to score like 17 points in the first quarter. Don't be surprised if it's 17-3 at the end of the first quarter. All right, here we go. The Packers. Packers are gonna extend themselves right here. They're gonna be like, yeah, well, this is what we're gonna do. This is a nice even spread on their offense. Oh, and then we got the conflict. Well, I think this is having a new quarterback coming in. They've got Malik coming in, who was really kind of unproven. He got picked up from the Tennessee Titans, who was out on waivers. They were like, we just don't want this. We don't want to keep another player in here. This is, I'm going to tell you, I think the Packers implode a little bit this week. I really do. And they have Josh Jacobs. They can run the ball all day. So this tells me they're going to try and have a very balanced, 55-45, run to pass ratio somewhere in there. 50-50, 55-45. Now, what are they going to Yeah, I think the Colts are going to kind of slam them here. I think the Colts defense, if you can pick up the Colts defense, that's a good thing. The Emperor, they're going to shift the Emperor over here. So they're going to kind of use some of their own tactics to be like, yeah, you know what? We're going to use a stout defense. Don't be surprised if they switch to a 4-3. They have a 3-4 defense traditionally, but they'll switch to a 4-3 because that is more of a run defense. And then you have the High Priestess here. This is old knowledge. So they're going to use old tactics. Maybe this is ball control. Maybe this is game control. They might start out really quick, get 17 points by early second quarter, and then only score 10 points the rest of the game. So they might end up with 27 points, but I think the Packers are going to really lose it here. 27-13. That's where I'm going with this. 27-13. And I think it's going to be because the Colts get out to a fast start. That Chariot card really holds a lot of water. Tons of water with that one. All right, here we go. Seattle Seahawks along with the New England Patriots. And by the way, the throwback uniform last week for the Seattle Seahawks, the silver and blue, electric blue, mwah, chef's kiss on the throwbacks, man. I love throwback gear. I love the Patriots throwback gear. I could care less about the Patriots, but there is nothing better than a 3-point stand Patriot on the side of a helmet, especially when you're a kid that grows up in the Northeast. Right? All right, here we go. Seattle's finding some identity. Now, one of the challenges that they have is their wide receiver core is getting very old very quick. You got DK Metcalf, and then Lockett that are just, and Lockett's really, last year was really kind of a teeter year. They have Njembe coming in, and he had a pretty good first year. He had about 780 yards, just shy of 800. He's looking to really be the true number 2, if not the number 1 eventually when Metcalf kind of steps aside. So they're working with their identity. They're also having Geno Smith still be their quarterback. He is on borrowed time, everybody. He was washed up 3 years ago, came back into the league, was the player of the year, comeback player of the year for the Seattle Seahawks. They're still kind of running with some old stuff here. They're still also trying to find some identity post Russell Wilson, post Pete Carroll. So do they know who they are? I don't know, but there's some anxiety about this. I think this is an identity crisis in this type of spread, just to let you know. Oh, and by the way, since we've combined all the cards, we've got another Emperor card. They're going to try and do the right thing here. They're going to try and do that. And then you've got the King of Cups. So this right here, since they're at the Patriots, if they were home, I would say this is them having the team lift them up. Then, yay, here we are. This, I think, is some late game skullduggery that might kind of be like, hey, we've been holding this special play. Confidence is the death of them. Look for the Patriots to blitz and blitz a lot. In the post-Belichick era, you've got Gerard Mayo, who, by the way, is somebody I remember when he was drafted. I remember he was on, 3 of the 5 championship teams. He's somebody that knows how to win. I think he's going to exploit their inconfidence or their lack of confidence. Oh, yeah. And they're going to intuitively call plays on the fly to kind of be like, we already kind of know what they're doing. And then you've got the 6 of Wands here, along with the King of Cups. So what this is telling me, I think that they're going to be like, I think Seattle has some successes here, but I think they take it in stride. I think New England's kind of like, well, yeah, we kind of let them score. And that'll be kind of like a confidence play for them. And they're going to kind of intuitively know that they're going to do, like, we knew they were going to run it and it was good. Now, how are the Patriots going to go? They're home. The sun comes out. Oh, they're reaping what they're sowing here, but they're their own worst enemy. I know exactly what I'm going to say to this. Wow. Knight of Pentacles. They're going to be like, "Hey, we're going to show you some new challenges here." Right? And then you're going to have the Hierophant here in the center. Hierophant shows up in the Snoopy cards for their reaction to this to be like, "Hey, we're going to remind you that you don't always reap what you sow. It might grow to fruition, but here you go." I think you're dealing with a somewhat inexperienced coach, and then you have the three of Wands against the Ten of Swords here. This is a travel card. Seattle's on the road. I think the Patriots turn it over late in the fourth quarter and give the Seattle Seahawks the game. I think on paper, if I was to pick a team, I would have picked the Patriots. Even though they don't necessarily have their receiving core in line. Stevenson looks fantastic, right? You have seasoned quarterback in there. Drake May isn't ready yet. Let Brissett kind of, take the reign here. I think this is going to be part of the undoing of Jacoby Brissett. I think he throws a late game interception where all they need to do is just kind of like sew up the game, or maybe maybe they got a 3-point lead or a 2-point lead, 1-point lead. And they're like, listen, we just got to get a couple of first downs and then we're good to go. And then there's a turnover, maybe a fumble, maybe an interception. Jacoby Brissett's undoing right here, because the team going away is going to have the last word. That's what the 3 of Wands tells me. Woo! Did I just pick the Seattle Seahawks going away? I just picked 2 away teams. Again, let's remember our sponsors here. We're going to sponsor this with the ASPCA instead of wasting your money on gambling or draft king picks or whatever. Go ahead and adopt an animal. You'll spend the exact same amount of money on what you would lose in a game that has nothing to do with you. Instead, you can make an impact on the life of a living, breathing creature. You'll thank me for it. All right, guys, let's move ahead here. By the way, half of you have already turned me off, and I'm okay with that. And some of you are kind of like, oh, okay, we'll just have fun with this. I just want to have some fun with this. That's why I'm doing this. I'm having fun with them. All right, guys, here we go. Let's talk about the Commanders. Let's talk about the Giants. The Giants look terrible, guys. I think the Giants are arguably the worst team in the league. And if it wasn't for the Carolina Panthers, they would be. Now, the Carolina Panthers and the Giants play one another later on this year, so there's a chance that we won't have a winless team. A chance. You just ordered a pizza. Mama, oh, you're the reason why I'm doing this tonight. It's football without the football. No debates going on. By the way, I had to be reminded that today was Wednesday. The Giants are in flat out trouble. A couple of years ago, they had to make a decision behind the scenes. And that decision was, reading all the statistics about how running backs age so quickly, they fall off, but yet quarterbacks tend to stick around and they tend to get better with age once they have the right experiences and that sort of thing. And they went all in with Daniel Jones. Well, Saquon Barkley absolutely crushed the Packers last Friday. First Friday game in NFL history, I think, or the second. Anyways, the first one in Brazil. Saquon Barkley was 100% the person they should have kept. It is the person that should have ridden into, and they should have retooled and recalculated their position at quarterback. That's the way they should have done it. They did not do it. And I was one of the first people to say Daniel Jones kind of got it. He just needs the right people around him. Does not matter. Really like the new receiver, but it's going to take him 3 years. I also loved Hakeem Nicks, so that should tell you where I'm at in that camp. But a lot of the ways that the Giants are failing right now is that they don't play to the strengths of their players, which is a direct coaching thing. And when you have coaching problems, that's an issue, right? Then you have the Commanders with kind of this new identity with Jaden Daniels, who, by the way, looked phenomenal. Did he make some mistakes? Absolutely. Did he throw it a little high, a little long, a little short? A couple times. But I will take a kid, for lack of intensive purposes, to that is willing to kind of like trade up, show up, do it differently. And Jane Daniels, I think, has what it takes to really be successful in this league in a way that I think that they're hoping like CJ Stroud is going to be. CJ Stroud, I think, will, and we'll get to the Texans game here in a second too, but I think CJ Stroud is one of those players that will hit a ceiling because you'll figure out what they do. Like these new quarterbacks tend to be a little more gimmicky, a little more gadgety because they'll have the RPO, the run play option, where they'll run out to the side, and if there's somebody barreling in on them, they'll give a quick toss out and then they'll go. Which, by the way, was how Doug Flutie used to run his offenses in the Canadian Football League, which is why he was a Canadian Football League champion like 3 times because he would do that RPO. And then Brian Kelly, who stole that, took it to Oregon. Was it Oregon or Oregon State? And then eventually to Notre Dame, where he'd run this RPO, and everybody was like, wow, this is just great. Well, then all of a sudden the NFL is like, let's do our own adaptation of it. And basically the adaptation in the NFL is just 10 times faster. So Giants, let's look at how we're gonna respond this week. 6 of Swords. Life is a journey, and it is not always a pleasant one. We have the Knight of Wands. This tells me this is DeVito coming in for him. And then you're left out in the cold. Giants fans, I wish I could help you here. I wish I could help you here. So they're going to try. They're going to try some different things. But this 5 of Pentacles is just basically, yeah, you're screwed. You're out in the cold here. So then you got the 2 of Cups. Giants becoming a little bit of lovable losers here. Then you have the Judgment to be like, why are you making those choices? And then you have the Temperance, which is, you know what? You were good for a bunch of years and now you're not. So this is also the Commanders basically going, some years it's you, some years it's us. And listen, the Commanders, aka the Redskins, don't know why we changed it. Don't tell me about, you know, appropriations or whatever. We still have the Chiefs down the road in Kansas City. But this Temperance card along with this Judgment card is really kind of like they're going to try things that they think they can get away with, but they don't know the new team, so to speak, right? They've got a good defense. The Commanders do good, not great. And honestly, they're just not going to be able to pull too much. Commanders coming in with a strong choice here. King of Wands, yeah. And timing. So I think they're getting the Giants at the right time, and I think that this to me is basically they're gonna pick and choose how they want to beat them. Do they want to beat them on the ground? Do they want to use the run game? Do they want to throw it through the air? Either way, Jaden Daniels, I think, is in the mid to upper 20s in terms of points, traditional points in fantasy football. And I think that they really kind of have their way with them. Right? Oh, yeah. The Giants come in 5 of Wands. They can't get on the same page. Giants defense right here, 5 of Pentacles. I think this might be the most lopsided game of the year. And then you have the 9 of Wands. Guys, I can't make this up, but the Giants are absolutely... I think the Giants are going to get embarrassed. And I mean embarrassed. I mean debate embarrassed. Mm, 37-6. Daniel Jones' last game in a Giants uniform. There, I called it. All right, let's take a look at our next game here. And by the way, I did skip the Vikings and I did skip the Jets. I'm going to do those guys last. They're my two favorite teams, and we'll just figure that out. Let's talk about the Panthers and the Chargers, though. The Chargers actually have been doing a little bit of regrouping. They just hired Harbaugh as their head coach, and then you have two Harbaughs um, back in the league. The last time Jim Harbaugh was in the league, he was bringing the San Francisco 49ers to a Super Bowl. That was what, 7 years ago? Actually, 11 years ago. He went back into coaching college, brought the Michigan Wolverines to a championship, mired around a whole bunch of shenanigans that he was just like, listen, either you're going to accuse me or you're not. Um, and he wanted to coach Justin Herbert. That's what he wanted to do. He made no bones about it. He goes, I want to coach that kid. He's a quarterback coach. By the way, he did not have an overwhelming statistic game, but they controlled the game cover to cover. They got rid of some older players. Eckler, who, by the way, will be the bell cow in the Commanders defense or in the Commanders offense. If you have Austin Eckler, play him all day and twice on Sunday, because he will have 120 yards catching and running, and he'll have at least 2 touchdowns. He will be the highest scorer this week, along with Jaden Daniels. So over on the Chargers side of it, they have really gotten it together. Now, if you are in an elimination pool, you should be picking the Chargers right here. Anybody that is playing the Panthers, you should just pick. The Panthers are going to win 2 games all year. They will win both. At least one of them will be in the division, and the other one might be the Giants. The Giants will have the first pick in the draft. Just letting you know. I think the Panthers will at least mistakenly win a couple of games. Right? The Chargers, however, have really gotten their act together. So here we go. Chargers, you're working the clay. This is Jim Harbaugh rolling up his sleeves, making sure he's got a good game plan in place. Oh, yeah. But he doesn't have all the pieces that he wants. The 10 of Wands comes out to be like, not really sure how I want this to go. But then the Ace of Pentacles is he can always find a nugget of something to build on, right? And this is Justin Herbert. They have a kid named Lad McConkey, who I think he's the nephew of Phil McConkey, Giants fans. And I think this is going to be them kind of saying like, okay, we found a new piece. I think the Chargers are going to find a different piece every week into their new things. And by the way, sometimes it'll lead to a win. Sometimes it'll be like, we just came up short. But let's take a look at the Panthers' answer. Okay, Ace of Cups. Ace of Cups. This means that like there's going to be some push on this. In other words, some of the things that they try, we were just going to work. We weren't even sure it was going to work. And then you have the Ace of Spades here. This is them kind of saying to him like, hey, we might not have the tools, but we might discover other tools, right? We'll show you different ways. Oh gosh. And here are the Panthers being their own worst enemy. Can't make this up. So the Panthers are already kind of like sending it home. I think this is a huge advantage for the Chargers. Even though early, I think this might be one of those slow moving games where, at the end of the second quarter, the Chargers score. They kind of get some momentum going. They might have a couple of field goals because it doesn't really work right. And it's like Panthers are like, yeah, this is a celebration. Panthers come out, Queen of Wands. I think they're going to look better than what they're going to look, because I think they're changing their mindset. I don't know, Panthers. You're pulling it together. And then you've got the Page of Wands. They're going to be trying a lot of different new things. That's what this is. Now, this really depends on how the Chargers respond. The Chargers aren't gonna be sure what they're looking at. The 9 of swords comes out. This is anxiety. They're like, "Oh shit, what are we up against here? What are we doing here?" Then you got the 6 of swords. This is gonna be them going, "Oh no, what are we doing here? How are we gonna do this?" Page of wands, king of wands. Advantage Chargers. And I'm gonna tell you, I think this is gonna be one of those things that you're gonna see the Panthers have glimmers of hope, but they're just gonna come up short. The Chargers are gonna be like, well, even though we won, we know we did some things well and we're challenged in other things. We want to make sure we become balanced. This is all part of Harbaugh's plan. Because Harbaugh looks at this game as in like, we want to win this by 10. We don't want to win it by 14. We don't want to win it by 20. We want to win it by 10. We want to be comfortable, but we don't want to cream them because he doesn't want his team. He knows his team is only so good. He retooled the San Francisco 49ers 10 plus years ago into a championship team. Right. And by the way, in case you were wondering, who was his quarterback? Who's Jim Harbaugh's quarterback during that time? I'll tell you the answer when we get to the 49ers. Advantage Chargers. I think the Chargers win this 24-17. And I think that they've discovered new ways to win. Browns and Jaguars, 2 tragic losses. You know, the Browns kind of got mopped up by the Cowboys, made the Cowboys look better, way better than what they do. Every win the Cowboys have, they look way better than what they are. And that isn't me just picking on the Cowboys. It's just they're incrementally a grease fire from time to time. Right. So now you've got the Browns. And if you don't pick your first 2 teams you should be picking in your elimination pool should be whoever the Panthers are playing and then whoever the Browns are playing, and I'm gonna tell you why. The Browns have a lot of talent on their team, right? They have Amari Cooper, who is arguably one of the best receivers out there. Amari Cooper will be a New York Jet before the end of the year. I just called that out. They're gonna lose all of this, and by the way, the Browns are these lovable losers. These are 2 teams that have never made it to the Super Bowl, the Browns and the Jags. They are one is in the South, one is in the Central and the AFC. They are destined to play each other every other year, every 3 years. When they meet each other, it is a reminder of how futile they tend to be, both of them, right? Jacksonville Jaguars got close to the NFC game. They beat the Bills one year and they got into the NFC or the AFC championship and they lost to the Patriots. That is kind of how the Jaguars run. They always end up being in a position where they just can't pull it off, right? So let's talk about the Browns here. Energetically, having Deshaun Watson as your quarterback is not a good thing. He's not a good dude. Even if he, you can ask, whenever you hear a rumor about somebody, you have to ask, is it true? Right? This is going to be this game is going to be a race to the bottom, but I think the Jaguars just have way too much talent because you look at the Jags quarterback there. He's got it together. And listen, Trey, listen, he might not be the best player in the league, but he's got it together. And Florida's a great spot for him. But let's take a look at how the Browns approach this. The star, the lovable losers, moving quick, and then the Queen of Pentacles. Well, I'd like to tell you this is a good spread. But if I'm the Browns and I have a quarterback that is accused of sexual assault again for like the 19th time, plea bargained out, no guilty, blah, 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 suspension, whatever. I think they're going to move, and they paid a ridiculous amount of money to Deshaun Watson, like something like 114 million guaranteed. We're in the wrong business, everybody. And he ain't that good. He's never been that good. You can say he's electrifying and he's got all the tools and blah, blah, blah. Well, that confidence, I think this is going to be a crash and burn situation. And I think when you see feminine energy with the Star and the Queen of Pentacles, I think this is getting between his ears. Jaguars, what are you going to do here? 5 of Cups. 5 of Cups. So there'll be some gimme here. And then you got the 8 of Cups. There'll be some loss in all this. And then you've got the World card. Okay. So this, I think, is kind of a game of destiny for the Jaguars to say, you know what, we're better than this. This is a comeback win for the Jaguars. That's the way I see this so far. Right. So their defense is going to kind of show up and be like, the 8 of Cups versus the 8 of Wands, advantage Browns, Queen of Pentacles versus the World card. I got to give it to the Jaguars here in this one. I think they're going to disrupt Deshaun by getting in his head. I actually think smack talk is going to be the winner. Now, Jaguars, how are you going to approach this offensively? So, seven of swords here, 5 of cups, you're turning it over. And then High Priestess. Look for them to get Etienne the ball a lot in the backfield. This is the establishment of they're going to get a couple of turnovers early. I think this is going to be closer than what it needs to be. But I think that the Jaguars are going to eventually pull this out because they'll get to the basics. Let's see if the Browns can answer this at all. King of Pentacles, this is going to be a good stout defense. I think they're going to get stymied a lot. And then you got the Chariot. So this tells me that they're coming with a lot of blitzes. Like they're just saying like, you know what, we're coming quick. We're going to fumble the ball. This is a fumble. And by the way, when we take a look at what there is they're going to contribute to their own demise. Right? They're basically going to say like, here's the ball. Here's the ball back. You don't need it. It's the way it's going to be. I think the Jaguars accidentally win this game, but I think the Browns kind of give it away. And I think Deshaun Watson is really going to get exposed in this. And we are in the fight. I think him and Daniel Jones are going to end up in a retirement home together before the 4th game of the season, certainly by the 8th. Not going to lie. The greatness of the Raiders. Let's talk about the Raiders and the Ravens. You know, the Ravens. Yeah, the Browns won't show up. I like that comment. So the Ravens went out and first of all, they got Mark Andrews as a tight end who didn't show up last week. Isaiah Likely showed up and just ran the joint. Great pickup in the fantasy football leagues, right? Lamar had to run like a banshee to even get them to competitive last week against the Chiefs. And this is the thing. I mean, listen, the Chiefs are kind of the standard, right? You got to beat them. And they were competitive. That tells me they're really going to show up. But I got to tell you, there's something about having a kid named Gardner Minshew as your quarterback in the desert in Las Vegas. I don't know. Is this a shocker game? Let's see what the cards have to say. I think Gardner Minshew is one of those like legendary guys in the moment, but he's not going to make the Hall of Fame. He's not going to be whatever. I can see the sexy pick being the Raiders, but they're in Baltimore. If they were in Las Vegas, I think my impression might have been opposite. But here we go. Raiders, you got the shiny new toy, right? You'll let your running back go, but yet you pulled in another. And then you got the King of Swords. And then you got the 5 of Swords. This is late game turnover. Sorry, Raiders fans. Womp womp. What are the Ravens going to look at? By the way, thank you very much, Mr. Harbaugh. You got the 3 of Cups. They're going to celebrate that they keep it simple. They're going to read this guy cover to cover. 8 of Pentacles here, this is them getting some 3 and outs. And then you have the 6 of Pentacles. So, I think that the Raiders are going to give the ball up. I think they're going to give it up in traditional 3 and outs. I don't know that they're turning the ball over, although I think late in the game they might. They might only have 1 turnover, but it might be the death of them. I think they're going to have a lot of 3 and outs. A lot of 3 and outs. And that'll just make Lamar be comfortable in his shoes. Ravens, look at that. Kind of destiny for win 2.0. They're reinventing it. Look for a completely different team this week. I think the Ravens are going to start to get some run on being the best team in the football conference. So they've been studying. They've been doing the work. The Raiders are going to come in and kind of be like, okay, this is how we're going to do this. Then you get the 8 of Pentacles. This is interesting. This is about like, hey, we're going to get greedy on them being different. They're going to be prepared for one thing and they're going to have another. And they're going to be like, we're going to try and hold them. And, you can't contain them. You can't stop them. You can only contain them. That's this approach right here. And I think that Lamar's not going to be contained. I think the Ravens are going to do. I think this is going to be one of those 33-27 games, last minute score. Maybe this is an overtime game. I think the Raiders are becoming better than what people had predicted. And again, I just like Gardner Minshew. Yeah, let me pull up my. You got Devontae Adams, who I think is going to get a boatload of catches this weekend. I think he's going to get targeted 10 times, 10, 11 times. And Gardner doesn't know much what to do aside from go long, right? He was 5 of 6 last week, and he had 59 yards with no touchdowns, right? He's not going to hit elite efficiency unless he gets that. I also like Brock Bowers, too, as a tight end with a new with a quarterback that's kind of learning a system. But the Ravens need to kind of tell the rest of the team to show up. They really do. They really do. Yeah, Debbie, I agree with you. I just said that. Like, he was the only one that showed up. Like, are you kidding me? You've got to be able to kind of at least be part of the pack. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think a lot of times people, I have a friend of mine that he's going to draft Lamar Jackson in the 3rd round or the 4th round, depending upon where he's at in his draft selection. But he always overpicks. And he does really well until he doesn't. And it was funny, this year he completely went a different direction. And he didn't pick Lamar in the first couple of rounds. He actually grabbed Patrick Mahomes, which was kind of funny. And Lamar is his backup. And I'm like, how are you going to ever play him? And he's like, ouch. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. That's a big deal, right? Yeah, I think Likely is going to have a lot of touches again as well. I don't think Andrews is an elite tight end. I think tight ends have like 2 years of relevancy. You want to pick them into the year that they're going to be relevant, that they come into relevancy, and then you want to pick them the year after. But then after that, they're just, everybody's going to be running the mill. You're better off choosing a tight end a little bit later and kind of going from there. But anyways, so Ravens 33-27 late game. Right. All right, here we go. Rams and the Cardinals. Battle of St. Louis. Even though none of them are there now. Can you imagine? Poor St. Louis. Like, what are they doing? They have the baseball team. They have the Iowa Barnstormers not too far away. All right, guys. So the Cardinals have the highest draft pick of a wide receiver in Marvin Harrison Jr., barely saw the light of day. Kyrie, I actually got a couple of Kyries here, but um, Kyler Murray, rather, for the Cardinals is just another one of these beasts, very similar to Lamar, where he has to do a lot of stuff himself, right? McBride, the tight end, really didn't get a lot of starts, but you got to watch out for Stafford here with the Rams, right? Um, oh yeah, and Williams is on our IR. That's a good point. Look at you guys knowing your football. The ladies bring the football talk. I'm okay with that. I don't care if it's just 10 of us in here. Whatever. So the Rams, though, the Rams just lost Puka Nakua, who was a flash in a pan last year. He was like the number 3 receiver. He was a late draft pick. Fantasy football, he was rostered in like 2% of all leagues after week 1, and by week 3 it was on 98%. So that's kind of where we're at here. So you got the Arizona Cardinals and the LA Rams. Both of them kind of have an identity crisis a little bit because they're trying to build it around a quarterback that they know that the rest of the team has to win it, right? So here we go. Rams, how are you going to approach this game? So you're on the road. 3 of Wands is that's a great card for an on the road team, right? What that's really saying is we have no problem picking up and going. They got seasoned veterans, even though they're kind of the youngest team in the league. The fact that they get the Hermit card, this is them playing within themselves. And then this is being battle tested. This is going to be a fight. This one might be the game of the week. I could be wrong. This might be the game of the week. This might be the most exciting game of the week. All right. How are they going to approach this? How are the Cardinals going to approach it? They're going to fall into their traps. 4 of Wands. They're going to love this kind. They're going to love being the home team, kids. That's what they're going to do. 2 of Swords. So they're going to kind of make some calculated decisions with, this is going to be trying to outsmart McVay, who's one of the brightest coaches. And then you've got the Queen of Wands. So I'm going to tell you what this is. This is Stafford having the seasoned veteranness and knowing what to do. I hope he doesn't get hurt, but on top of that, I think he's going to be one of those. I think they're going to try and dictate the game through like blitzing and that sort of thing. And I think Stafford is going to go, I'm going to pick you apart if that's the case. Cooper Kupp has a blow up day. I think Cooper Kupp's going to have an awesome day. I got to tell you, though, I'm kind of edging towards the Cardinals so far because, all right, so we've got intuition here. Thank you very much, Cardinals. And then we got the Empress. And then you got the Tower. A lot of points coming up short. Woo! Could the Cardinals throw a late game interception here? Kind of looks like it. Let's see how they react to it. Knight of Spades, Knight of Swords. They're going to think they're game planning Kyler Murray. That's what they're doing. Huh. Then you've got the time-tested stuff. This is just the Rams showing their experience. Kyler Murray has been accused of being a little bit of a diva, and I think that's kind of what this is. He's the centerpiece of it, and they're seasoned enough to know to work around it. To say it lightly, the Cardinals will choose poorly. Your ex-husband hated football? That explains why he's your ex-husband. I think that the Rams are going to win this going away. A lot of away teams winning this week. What is up with that? And I think that the Cardinals will be their own worst enemy. I think it'll be because they are too Kyler Murray heavy, dependent. That ain't cool. Probably should have counted my cards out, huh? How many of these am I going to be able to do? Steelers, Broncos. Steelers and Broncos. Now, the Steelers won going away last week because they had Justin Fields at quarterback. Could Justin Fields be a good quarterback? Yeah, there you go. The Broncos have Bo Nix. And by the way, Bo Nix didn't look great. Statistically, he wasn't fantastic. He had one play, though, where he was running towards the end zone, and he did the college football act like he's going to throw it and kind of do one of these, and the guy totally went off of his mark, and then he was able to run in for a touchdown. I think Bo Nix has to take some more lumps before he gets good in this league, but I see stuff like that, and I go, ooh. At a minimum, it's going to be entertaining, and the fact that he's one of the rookies that are actually starting right now, let's pay attention to that. All right, here we go. Steelers, how are you going to approach this? Oh, yeah, you're going to come in, you're going to be the Steelers. That's how that's going to roll. I don't know. I'm really liking these out-of-town teams this week. The Knight of Swords comes up. They got something. They got a trick up their sleeves, and then they've got temper. Okay, so they're going to try and do ball control. This is about ball control. This is about maybe this is a little more like passes into the flat. Maybe this is something to keep the clock going. Maybe this is, free mouth going, 3 yards out, catch the ball, fall forward, for a 5-yard gain. Set the tone to, run Najee Harris up the middle. Okay. I don't think they have a quarterback controversy. They have Russell Wilson there, which, by the way, he could be one of those players that could go down in history, but he was too much of a nice guy at different times. This is one of the reasons why being a nice guy all the time can bite you in the ass, and look no further than Russell Wilson over on this. Now, do they want to pull Russell Wilson out to give the double bird over to the Broncos because Sean Payton is such a tool? Sean Payton, and again, I get it. He's hired post haste after they make this deal, and they're like, I never would have made this deal. But have a little class, Sean. Show somebody respect. Don't bully them. How are we going to do this on the defense? Oh, this ain't good. Broncos are going to be kind of like but I didn't wear. This is them bitching about calls too, right? Then you have the 9 of Cups. So this is them this is the Broncos showing off a little bit and being like, hey, look at this. We kind of do well and we kind of, whatever. And then the Page of Spades with the Temperance. This right here is recklessness. They're going to get burned. Expect the Pittsburgh Steelers to have a bunch of big plays. They'll have, they'll be 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 75-yard run for a touchdown. That's the way this game is going to go based on this spread. Right? But now let's take a look at how the Broncos are going to approach this offense offensively. You got Bo Nix coming in. There you go. You got your new guy. You got your fun thing. Oh, we're gonna play a little too conservative here. And then they have kind of a special trick up the sleeve. Don't be surprised if they try a trick play or two. How are the Steelers going to respond to this? 5 of Swords. Screw you. We're going to take your sword from you. Blitzing right up the middle. That's what this is. Then the Empress. This is going to be them going, his name is Watt. Here you go. It's going to eat him alive. And then you've got the 7 of Swords. It's going to get the turnover. Am I about to pick another away team? I think I am. I think the Steelers win this in like an odd combo platter of like 29-22. Like it'll just be weird how they get to the score because there's just a lot of anomalies. And I think Sean Payton is going to get the Bill Parcells treatment where it's like, we want to fire you, but we can't. Yeah, Justin Fields is going to be QB1. He will be because they can't move off of him yet. They can't. And they can't put Russell Wilson in there without any experience. All right, let's talk about the Bengals and the Chiefs. And again, let's talk about our sponsor here for just a second. We're going to go back to the beginning because this is what I do. We are sponsored by the ASPCA for this. Instead of spending and wasting money on gambling on football and all the other sports that are out there, how about you all adopt a pet? It's about the same amount of money per year, and you will be a better person because of it. You will be less depressed. You will be doing good in the world, and you will absolutely be a good human in my book. All right, guys, here we go. Bengals. Talk to me, Bengals. Oh, yeah, this is intestinal fortitude. You know what this is? This is Joe Burrow's going, here we go again. Here we go again. Knowing full well he's up against the best team in the place. So this is I like this. Jamar Chase goes off, and I'm not just saying that because of my fantasy team. And we're the wounded healers. Somebody's going down. I hope Joe Burrows makes it through this game, guys. I hope Jamar Chase makes it through this game. You know, they got a running back by the name of Brown who's going to absolutely take the reins. You got Zach Moss, former Buffalo Bill, who's kind of been holding down the fort right now. This is an injury. This is somebody going down, but this is kind of a hookup. I think this is very much Jamar Chase. It could be Higbee coming back. You know, it could be the idea that he finds some kind of old love. I'm kind of pulling for Jamar here. How are we going to do this? 8 versus 8 right here. Chiefs are going to blitz the shit out of them. They're going to plug up the middle. They're going to make sure they kind of roll. Oh, 10 of Pentacles here. Now, 10 of Pentacles, when I'm saying Jamar Chase is going to really kind of take to the hill on this, or at least him having a lot of like hookup points here. 10 of Pentacles. They're going to become predictable. And then, of course, they got something up their sleeve. I'm going to give the edge to the Bengals on this, but this injury, I hope it's later than earlier. And by the way, you know, injuries are part of the game. You hope it's not critical. You hope it's a tweak instead of a break. You know, you hope they can kind of overcome it. Slight chance of injury here. But let's take a look at the Chiefs. The Chiefs are actually reinventing themselves. So the death card here doesn't scare me. It actually invigorates me. And here, Travis Kelce come. Is this Travis Kelce becoming his main squeeze again? They might be a little too conservative. This might be a little bit closer than what you think, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you know. And this is Pachenko getting the ball a lot. This is not making Mahomes do all the work. That's what this is. That's what this is. King of Spades, that's how they're going to answer it. They're going to know exactly what's going on. They're going to know exactly what they're doing. And they're going to try and get it. The timing of it is going to be like, yeah, we know what they're going to do, but they're going to do it anyways. And then you got the hangman. This is them approaching it in a different way for a different reason. Right? I only got 2 more games left in my cards here. We might have to skip the Bears and the Texans. Oh, I have to pick 2 of these. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do the Jets and the Titans. And then we're going to do the Vikings and the 49ers. But I'll talk about the other ones here. So last thing on the Chiefs and the Bengals. I think the Chiefs win this. I think they win it handily. I think they win it by 10 plus points. Right? Oh, Black Bell, you're so funny. And I don't know. I think Pachenko and Kelce have incredible games. Right? I just think they do. All right, guys, here we go. We're going to skip ahead a little bit of this. I'm going to talk about the Bears and Texans for a second. I'm not going to pull any cards on those. I'm just going to say I think the Texans win this at home because CJ Stroud is going to kind of show Caleb Williams how to do it. Odenze is actually already down. The Bears wide receiver, highest pick, second highest pick, is getting him tools that he might have needed. But Odenze is he's already kind of banged up. Bears. I love that. they're coming along. It's not their time. They're 1-0. They stuck it out last week. The Texans are on a mission. Texans are kind of rolling this. I would expect this to be something like 27-15, 27-17, somewhere in that realm. I think the Texans really aren't challenged too much, but but the Bears are going to be right there. They're going to be trying to do it. This is experience time. Then you get the Falcons and the Eagles. The Eagles are arguably they're going to be probably the best team in the league before the end of the year. Saquon Barkley is such a game changer. Jalen Hurts has it together. These guys were in the Super Bowl 3 years ago, guys. They have a lot of pieces that are still there, or at least mindsets that are still there, even though their coach is kind of turned over and Sirianni is there instead. The Falcons are a grease fire. Kirk Cousins has run its course. I can say that as a Vikings fan. Beautiful man, caught the lightning rod, has made more money than anybody else in the NFL, believe it or not, because he was franchise tagged not once but twice by the Commanders, and a dipshit move by them. And he just always kind of like flatlines when he gets the contract. So Kirk Cousins, again, he's 36 years old. He'll be 37 before the end of the year. And once you blow out your Achilles, man, I can speak from my own experience. You ain't the same. You don't play the backbeat the same anymore. So I'm going to say the Eagles going away in a big, big way. I think they're going to score 38 plus points, and I think the Falcons do not. It's going to be a 38-10 game. All right, let's talk about the Jets and the Titans. Aaron Rodgers stayed upright generally for the entire game. He only had about 150, 160 yards passing with one touchdown. Really pedestrian numbers, but the game got away from them because well, they were playing the 49ers. A Christian McCaffrey-less 49er team, and they still kind of got mopped. However, the Jets kind of knew that they were going to lose this game. They just did. They wanted it to go well in certain areas. And I think that having Aaron Rodgers find his receivers and to have Breece Hall, get motivated behind this line, behind this O line, which is kind of just middling. It's kind of, average, middle of the road. I think they saw some positives out of this. The Titans should be better than what they are. And for whatever reason, and I don't know if it's because they had Steve McNair in a bottle some 20 years ago, rest in peace, or whatever, that challenge line is for us. By the way, you guys like my Henson? He says Master of Puppets. It's Henson. It looks like Metallica. Anyways, I digress. One of my favorite shirts. But the Jets have this way about rising to the level of their competition, and that means if they go down, they go down. But the Tennessee Titans are in a serious identity crisis. They let go of Derrick Henry, right? They approach it from the standpoint of we just need pieces and we need game plan. Like they approach it from game plan, right? So let's talk about how the Jets are going to approach this. Yeah, I'm going to need to get creative here. I'm running out of cards. I should have thought about that. Oh, you know what I'm going to do? These are the things I should have thought of. It's over there in my bag. I might have to break up the cards a little bit here. So Aaron Rodgers stayed upright. I think that Aaron Rodgers will have a decent game. I think that their defense is fair, but not necessarily balanced. So the Jets are going to come in with a run game and a pass game. The devil card, who's going to get hurt? And then how are we going to approach this moving forward? Well, here we go. How are the Titans going to come in? The Titans are going to look to disrupt this game in a big, big way. Knight of Wands comes in. Oh, This is a big hit. Page of Pentacles. Okay. So I think the Titans approach this from the way of like, how do we disrupt them and how do we make their weakness, how do we make their strength their weakness? Right. I think the Titans are going to have a challenge, but I got to tell you, with this one here, this is Aaron Rodgers being Aaron Rodgers. I can't see the Titans losing this at home, though. But I don't think it's going to be Aaron Rodgers' fault. And I think Aaron Rodgers is going to kind of say, similar to what he said when he was up in Green Bay, to be like, it's not my fault. It's not my fault. I'm going to do something fun here. I know I'm running out of cards here, but now we're going to take a look at how are the Titans going to approach this? Wow. These are about options. This is about them kind of getting locked in to certain things, and this is them growing in a different direction. I would really look at the Tennessee Titans quarterback, the new guy who I'm completely slipping my name with right now, to have a really good game right here. And the Jets have a really good defense. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about the Magician. Ooh. Queen of Cups. And then the 10 of Wands. Where is this going to go? I think that the Tennessee Titans are going to take advantage of some conditioning issues. And you can say what you want. You can say what you want about that. I think this is Salah getting on the hot seat. I think this is them saying, but you're a really good defensive coach. That's what you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be great at defense. But instead, what you're giving us is, our players are winded. Our players can't play well. We aren't the team that we thought we were going to be. We gave you Aaron Rodgers. You said, if you can get Aaron Rodgers, we can be a great team. Breece Hall is a stud. Dude's a stud. That guy will run through a brick wall for you. There are very few bell cows in the National Football League anymore. And what a bell cow is somebody that gets the ball over and over again. Like you know what they're going to do and you can't stop it. That's what a bell cow does. Right? Do you remember the bus? Do you remember the oh my God, I'm looking right at him. Who is it? Jerome Bettis, thank you. That's what happens when your producer's offline. Jerome Bettis, the bus. You knew he was going to get the ball 30 times a game. You knew it. And by the way, if he had only gotten the ball 20 times and there was only 7 minutes left in the game, he was going to get the ball 10 times in a row. Because you knew he was going to get the ball. You knew he was their game plan. You knew you were going to get it. I think Breece Hall becomes that. I can't believe I'm doing this, but I think the Jets pull this out in the end with a defensive play. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to be the factor that he thinks he is. I don't think he's going to be the guy that everybody thinks that they're paying there. And he'll get criticism for it, and he doesn't care. He's cashing his check. He's going to do his anti-vaxxer hanging out in Europe, Egypt, whatever. And I don't blame the guy. Why does he have to do that stuff anymore anyways? Right? All right, guys. I believe in the integrity of the game, which is why I went ahead and took half of my deck here. Just half? Well, yeah. If you have the belief system that Spirit is going to give you the right cards at the right time to interpret, then I cannot have a complete deck. Right? I don't need to have the complete deck, but I'm going to combine these guys here. Yeah. So we got to talk about the 49ers. and the Vikings. To me, this is the game of the week. This is the one. This is the reason. This is one of the games why I get the NFL Network. This is the reason why, I pay my $100 to get all the games or whatever it is this week. This is the reason why I do it right here, because this is one of the games I want to see. No Christian McCaffrey. He's not going to be in this game either. But you should really watch out for another running back that they have, Isaac Guerrero. He was a walk-on for them. He played, I think, at Fresno State. And he is one of those guys that at Fresno State, was it Fresno State, whichever one he was. He basically ran, he had a game where he ran like 210, 189. Like he had a couple of those like ridiculous games. Now against the competition and blah, blah, blah. But he knows how to do it. He knows what success looks like. He doesn't really care. Garendo, yeah, there it is. I think he's going to be one of those guys that by the end of the season, everybody's talking about. I think Christian McCaffrey is in the breakdown zone for running backs. And I think the Vikings are hosting this. And I think that might mean everything. And I know you're a 49ers fan, and I know you're going to hate me by the end of this. But one thing that Kevin O'Connell, this is a third year. I mean, think about it. The first year he gets there, he has, Mason is going to step in, but I think Mason is one of those players that I think he's going to do well. I think he's a good replacement. He's not Christian McCaffrey. He's not as much out of the backfield, which is why I think they're going to go with the Garendo guy a little bit more. But let's talk about this. You ever meet somebody that like only deals with a half a deck? Right? Yeah, this is fun. All right, guys, here we go. All right, so how are the 49ers going to approach this? 49ers going away with the 10 of Wands. That ain't good. Queen of Cups shows up. Queen of Cups kind of says like, all right, who are we? Then the Wounded Warrior card. Don't hate me. I don't think the 49ers reach the playoffs this year. Fine, I just said it. I know. Hate me if you want. CMC says he's playing, but I got to tell you, based on this card spread already, I would not let him play. I would not let him play. As a matter of fact, I would sit him down and I'd say, we're not whatever. All right, how are the Vikings going to the Hermit card? The Vikings is good, but it needs great coaching. You actually saw that against the Giants. Then the Queen of Wands against the Queen of Cups. So this is action versus maybe a little vanity. Are the Vikings going to actually outpace them? Nine of Wands with the Nine of Cups. This is like a very keyed matchup. This is going to be a close game. I think this one's going to be a close game. Closer when whoever wins it. Doesn't really matter. It does matter, but it doesn't matter for the sake of the energy of the game. The fact that the Vikings are going to hang in there and the fact that the 49ers can't put them away is going to be the telltale sign of where the two of them at in this. I'm going to give the advantage actually to the Vikings on this, and not because I'm a homer, but you've got the Wounded Warrior here. This is somebody getting injured. And again, I'm not wishing it on him, but if I was Christian McCaffrey, I would not play this game. And I just don't think he'll be effective. Anytime, if you're a fantasy football player and your guy is coming back, you don't play him. You don't, because, if they were used to, 15 touches a game, they're going to get like 5 to 7 because they're going to try him out. Right. Yeah. The defense on the 49ers side is crazy good, but let's take a look at the Vikings offense. Oh, I think Sam Darnold and Justin Jefferson are going to hook up like it's their honeymoon. Oh, loss at the end. Turnover at the end. Page of Spades along with the Page of Wands. I'm telling you, these guys match up better than what I think this will be the eye-opening thing. I think the Vikings, based on where I'm going with this, the Vikings are going to be 1-1, but people are going to go like, yeah, but nobody wants to play them. They're going to take these guys on the chin and they're going to work it. Here we go. Knight of Wands along with the Two of Cups here. So this is them combat. They're going to shut down everything else. Aaron Jones might not get many yards. Hmm. Five of Cups along with the Four of Swords here. Spades in the Snoopy deck. This is about well-timed blitzes. This is about well-timed interception. This is I'm going to tell you what final score 17-13 49ers. But I'm going to tell you what's also going to happen. And by the way, Sam Darnold would not be the player that he is today if he didn't spend the time at the 49ers. Just letting you know. And he's going to learn with class. And guess what? I think he's going to be in the post and he's going to say, I can't turn the ball over there. I cannot do that. There is nothing that I should have read that the right way. I should have known it's a blitz. I should have known that I had pressure behind me. That's when they stripped the ball. That's where I threw it over somebody else's head. This is a growth moment for the Vikings, but it is a gut check time for the 49ers. This might be the game of the week. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Vikings fan. And I'm not just saying it because the 49ers are arguably the best team in the league. But I think the 49ers have some fundamental challenges that they haven't addressed. They just think they're going to run with CMC. CMC scoring factory. Love the guy, loved him forever, had him. He was one of my first successes in fantasy, or at least the change of my philosophy. I actually drafted him in the second round as a rookie, and everybody went, "That's way too high." He was a bell cow. It was the last year of oh my god, I can see him quarterback. Boy, I need to get better at that. I need to take some brains. You think 34-17 Niners? See, I think it's going to be close, and I don't think it's going to be as high scoring as what you think. I think they hook up with Justin Jefferson. He has 125 yards and a touchdown, but I don't think they're going to run the roost on this. I just don't. And I think Brandon Ayuk he's gonna have his flare games, right? Um, yeah, and having it be in the Vikings backyard, I think that is kind of an edger here, but I don't think it's enough. I think this is a late game mistake by the Vikings. I think that Sam Darnold is still going to have a hell of a game aside from that. Be the type of thing where we'll have one touchdown and one turnover, but it's an ill-fated time, for that turnover, right? Um oh, that's really cool. Yeah. I remember McCaffrey. Yeah, and right now you're just naming all of these different people that are just awesome. Like George Kittle. I mean, first of all, awesome human. By the way, he would adopt puppies. Just letting you know, George Kittle is a big animal advocate. Um, Brock to be at really? You think Brock? See, and that's another thing too. I love the gimmickiness. Um, Look at you guys. Look at you guys having your chat off. There's only 7 people combined between the 3 channels, and I'm totally okay with this. Um, Brock Purdy's story is impressive. I still haven't seen, and I know he brought him to a Super Bowl, and I know scoreboard and all of that stuff. Um, I'm just a little more concerned that he's still Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy, right? Um, oh, they're woo woo, huh? Yeah, I would see that. You know what? I'm going to ask George Kittle if he'll be on my podcast. Why not? I ask a lot of people. I get told no a lot. It's like I'm in high school again. But yeah, I think this is going to be a really exciting game, but don't expect a lot of points. I could be completely off the rails on this and it might be a 37-34 game. But based on the cards, I think that there's going to be a little bit exposed here. I think Kyle Shanahan's going to go, okay, guys, we got to pull back the veil a little bit here. We've got to kind of like look at this as if we have a different team without Christian McCaffrey. You know, um, yeah, I would totally do his podcast. Totally. Yeah, I'm a big George Kittle fan. I think there's two things that I like about George Kittle. And when you, first of all, I have him in one of my leagues. I have 5 different teams, but he is in like my throwaway league because in that one I take different risks. So I went up and got him. He wasn't available in my draft roster otherwise. But if I had to choose between him and virtually anybody else in the tight end pool, I would have chosen him. But anyways, I digress. But the things that I like about him that, and I'll do another kind of woo-woo comparison. Aaron Rodgers wants to grade against things because he has to prove something against his family. He has a huge family fallout. He doesn't talk to his parents anymore, his brothers or anything else. He hasn't talked to them in years. George Kittle, you even said yourself, is doing a family podcast. That's kind of important to me, right? Oop. I'm going to try and do that. I'm going to save this as a custom layout. And then, yeah, there we go. I kind of like that. I like it better if I kind of reversed it, but there we go. How about this? Anyways, but the thing I like about him is that he puts, yeah, and the Kelsey's podcast is fantastic too because they talk about the roll-up sleeves. Edelman's podcast is fantastic because he's talking about old Bill Belichick stuff, and I think that and those of you that saw the Brady roast, which I got to tell you, he was a little weird on his. Tom Brady might not be in the booth for long. And there's conflict with him being an owner. He wants to be part owner of the Raiders, and then he can't have access to teams and that sort of thing. Why, Tom? Why? How much you need to do? Yeah, the Kelsey's podcast is very cool too. But the thing back on George Kittle is that he works hard. He actually knows the amount of work that needs to go into that, and then he just he figured out his self-regulation. He figured out that he needed meditation, and he needed to unplug from football, and he needed to do that, right? You can't simultaneously be an owner and a commentator like Tom Brady's doing. You just can't do it all. And I remember, when Derek Jeter owns a percentage of the Tampa Bay Rays. And he did that, and he was actually in the managing seat. He was the general manager. He was, whatever, he was making decisions. And for 4 years, the Tampa Bay Rays were horrible. Just horrible. Like absolutely horrible. And just because you're successful on the field doesn't mean you'll be successful in the booth or on the field or whatever. Right? Yeah, Derek Jeter started to his dad does chakra meditations. That's really cool. I'm gonna check that out. I knew he had one, but I just hadn't checked it out. But anyways, guys, tbrainerust.com. I have 2 seats. I just saw somebody else grabbed one. I have 2 seats left for the online message circle. So I'm inviting you to it. Everybody gets a reading. You get one-on-one time with me. You can ask me questions. You can hang out with me. All that other good stuff. It's so worth it. It's so worth it. All right, guys, listen, I'm going to give you the heart taps. Thanks for letting me do this. This is a little bit of a different feel. I want a different energy today. I didn't want to talk about loss. I didn't want to talk about grief. I didn't want to talk about any of those things. I wanted to talk about something that's just kind of fun to me, and football was it. All right, guys, we'll be doing this on the regular. Hope you guys enjoy it, and I will see you guys soon. Keep going.